Hello and welcome to The Rest is Football with Micah Richards, Alan Shearer today and me, Gary Lineker. Alan made it back from Düsseldorf and we're all still celebrating England making it through to the semi-finals of Euro 2024. And Micah, what a resplendent shirt that is.
That looks as if it's come straight from Mexico.
Oh, Mexicana, yes.
More Hawaii, I think.
Is it more Hawaii?
I think so.
Look at that.
What have we got? We've got flowers on it. We've got...
Volcano, is
Is that a
that?
volcano?
Yeah.
We've got the sun. Yeah, just a little bit different, you know.
Yeah, it's-
a little silk number.
There's only you could pull that off.
Yeah.
It's quite something. I like it actually.
You like it?
I don't think I could wear it myself. I don't think I'd get away with that one. But,
A little Gucci number.
right. So you've got to deal with them.
I'm trying.
Alan, great. You just got back. We're recording this on Sunday.
Yep.
Tell us a trip first. You went Friday, obviously.
I went on the train, about 5.5 hours on the train. Little bit of a delay. And then...
England fans on the train?
There was a few on there.
Yeah.
They were all in. They were fine. They were in good spirits. We actually went into Düsseldorf and then got a car to Cologne.
Cologne's lovely.
Cologne was beautiful.
Yeah.
Was it?
They had this cathedral right near the train station, and it's like magnificent. It was really impressive. Yeah. I'm not really into those type of things, if I'm honest, but it just stood out. I mean, it was incredible. Yeah. And so I Googled it, and they started building it, and I think it was 1248. Wow. And it took 500 years to complete.
I mean, builders are normally slow, but that's really...
I hope that a clause in there.
Can I ask you what you normally do on the train? So you got 5.5 hours to pass. Are you doing your notes? Are you chilling out? You listen to music?
All of those things, doing a bit of notes and teamwork and information on players and
Listen to
bit of
podcasts.
music and listening to you two talk shit on the way back.
Oh, we did quite well, actually.
It was a really good trip. Of course, when you've got England doing what they did and the penalties and the excitement and everything else, the crowd were amazing. I mean, I don't know how many England fans were there, but there were.
They reckoned about 40,000.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Must have been 3-1, but they were like
outnumbered the
incredible.
Swiss. Yeah,
it was superb. I mean, it was a really, really good couple of days. So good to be back.
Yeah, thought you did well. It's never easy, these things, but
No.
and they kind of threw one at us, didn't they? With all the rumours were that Saka was going to play at left wing back and Trippier at right wing back, and then
Straight away you could see, couldn't they, when they're lining up, it's like, okay, that's not what we thought.
How long do you wait before you say you've seen Trippier go on the left and Saka? Because sometimes teams try to throw you off a little bit and you don't want to go too early. So how long is it before you make that tactical judgment?
I was tapping Guy. Obviously, you can just give him a little tap and I'm going, like just pointing to him because I can't say anything. Yeah. And I thought, we'll just give it a minute because they might just be chucking a little red herring out here. Yeah. So I just waited a minute and thought, I better come in and say it now before someone else says, he's not bloody saying he's on the right or the left. So there's just that fine balance, isn't there?
Yeah, it was much better than we've had in previous games. Obviously, it wasn't great and they weren't massively creative, but it was a significant improvement on what we'd seen before, wasn't it?
I think it was better, definitely better. Pressing was better, had a bit more energy. They seemed to respond a bit better to the system that we were playing. I still think there's a lot more to come from them, but what they have in abundance, and it's worth its weight in gold, is that they have this great togetherness. They have this team spirit. They have this belief, and that always has to come from the manager. But I do think they can still go up another level or two. There's still more to come.
The creativity side of it. At least this time I thought they were kind of a unit for the first time in this tournament. And I think that was the thing we were trying to get off.
Yeah, I mean,
certainly in the first half.
I mean, we didn't have a shot on target again until the goal, which was the 80th minute, was it?
I think there were a couple of good efforts that were blocked.
Yeah.
But they don't count in the stats world.
But in terms of, was it a massive improvement? I don't think so. It was an improvement, but I don't think it was off the charts. It wasn't off the charts. It was a good performance, but you're at the stage now where it doesn't really matter. When you look at the teams that are left in, There's only Spain
Yeah.
that have been very good.
France haven't scored a goal from open play.
Absolutely. France, who were the favourites coming into the tournament, I mean, they've been poor. They're in the semi-final. England, in large parts, have been, but they're there. The Netherlands were very underwhelming in the group. They finished third in their group.
I know.
So, it's you're at this stage where it doesn't really matter, does it? You just got to somehow get through. And England have managed to do that.
What were the positives for you?
I thought the positives were, without doubt, Saka. I thought he was brilliant. The way he was going past the defenders and getting to the byline and putting balls in.
Even when there were
box.
2 people on him.
Yeah, even when they were doubling up on him, I thought he was very, very good. I thought Konsa played well as well.
Yes.
He had a really good battle with Mbolo. Slightly unlucky where the cross goes through his legs, and then he's in there to tap it in. But I thought in the main he played really well. I thought Foden looked a lot better in the in that role that he was playing.
That we've been crying out for the whole tournament.
Who went under the radar without being spectacular, but did a really good job. I thought Declan Rice did that.
I think he's underappreciated as well.
Yeah,
because there are a lot of you know what social media is like. Everyone's saying a lot of people going, get Rice off. He's not, and they don't. I don't think they see
what
the
he
work
does.
and his interceptions and all that. He's could he improve his passing, breaking the lines? Yes, but that aside, when you've got 3 players that Mainu likes to go forward, and you've got Bellingham and Foden, you need that anchor, don't you?
Of course, we got a little bit of, I won't say stick, but people were saying we were a little bit too positive for England.
Well, before they were saying we were a little bit too negative.
Yeah, but
there are always going to be people that disagree with you.
Yeah, but I think it's nice to explain. In terms of the first game, Serbia, we all had the huge expectation of what England were going to do. They weren't great. Then we was up against Denmark. First half an hour, but in the game overall, it wasn't great. Then we had Denmark, who were really organised. Then we had Slovenia, and we see in their system 4-4-2, they defend really deep in the low block, difficult to break down. Then we have Slovakia, where, of course, a last-minute brilliance from Bellingham, and Kane wins it in extra time. But when I said England were brilliant, I'm comparing them to the previous 4 games.
When they were
I'm not saying they
awful.
was a finished article. All the things that you mentioned, higher up the pitch, Foden in the 10, all the things we've been crying out for. Maybe if we was being really picky, would we have put Trent Alexander-Arnold on the right wing back? I think it would have been perfect for him. But then you lose Saka, and Saka played so well. Obviously, the positive Luke Shaw coming back into the side as well. Looked like he's not been away from football for the time he has. So I like to clarify what we meant. You know what I mean? We was in the emotion of the game at the time. It was just a better performance. In terms of Southgate, could he make his subs early? Yes.
I think
we agree with that.
The second half was nowhere near as good as the first.
No, it wasn't. But it was that question to the manager, can we impact the game earlier? And the problem I saw with this is, who do you take off? You don't really want to take off Foden because he's playing well. Bellingham can get you a goal at any time. Maybe Kane to stretch him, like the point that you made. You don't want to take off Saka as well. So when I said he was brave in making the subs, normally Southgate would make 1 sub, but he made 3 right after the goal. And that's what was more satisfying for me.
He tends to be more reactive than proactive.
Agreed.
Yeah, I thought being picky here because I thought he could have made the subs a bit earlier, maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
We were all
before.
in the studio going, he needs to make changes. They kind of gone a bit flat.
Yeah.
They've lost their energy.
Correct.
Well, at this stage of the competition, and in a lot of games in international football, you're going to suffer in terms of possession. You're not going to dominate possession for 90 minutes or however long you play the game. You're going to have to sit back and stick together and defend. You might need a little bit of luck now and again, and that's what England had to do in the second half because they came into it, Switzerland. They were the ones that were putting England under pressure, and the crowd go quiet and the Swiss fans and then all of a sudden it sort of changes and you're under pressure. And then I'm thinking, okay, can we get a little bit more energy from somewhere? And then I'm thinking, okay, you need to make 2 or 3 substitutions here. They made 2.
Yep.
And they give them a lot more energy, and they sort of reacted to that. And I'm thinking, okay. And then we go 1-0 down, you're thinking the worst. But to be fair to Gareth, straight away, 3 subs on. But, how many times have we said about big moments come from big players at the right time? And Saka, I mean, it couldn't have happened to a better person. Just the way his performance was in that first half, and he'd gone a little bit quiet, like the rest of the team in the second half, but then produced that piece of. I mean, it just opened up perfectly for him, didn't it?
I didn't think as well. We touched on it how good Switzerland are. That is the thing.
I think it applies probably to all countries as well, all big footballing nations. There's almost like you think there's some kind of divine right that because you've got really good players that they're going to dominate everyone and we're way better than them. Why aren't we just attacking and creating loads of chances and scoring loads of goals? Tournament football's so hard. It's so hard. And you're playing against really good teams. Switzerland have been excellent in this tournament, particularly in the last couple of games. I mean, they were 1-0 up against Germany until the 92nd minute. They played Italy off the park in the game before.
Correct.
So I think sometimes I understand why, because we all get frustrated as fans and we all want more and more. But it was significantly better in that first half. But they did drop off. And Switzerland had their moment, which all big teams will have.
Which they're going to have. The substitutions were positive, and you know when it's coming to the crunch time, and you're looking, you're thinking, when's he going to bring the penalty takers on? Because what happened in the last Euros in the final, we were all critical about giving the guys the 2 or 3 minutes to come on and then have this huge penalty from 12 yards out that you're under that much pressure, but you've only been on a minute or two. It's probably unfair.
I think he learned his lesson.
I think he learned his lesson, and I think he brought them on in plenty of time. They were able to get in and play a bit in the game and have enough time to feel part of it.
Mike asked me a couple of times about Harry Kane.
Yep.
What were your views? I mean, on his performance?
Yeah, he's finding it tough. I mean, he's got his 2 goals, but he's I don't know if there's anything wrong with him, with his carrying an injury or what, but he is finding it tough to have a big impact on the game. I'm not saying he's having no impact, because that wouldn't be fair. He is without. I mean, in the stadium you can sort of see it when players are going to him and marking him and him taking other players out of the game. You can see that. But if you're sat at home watching, or you're sat in the studio, you're thinking, "Oh, come on, give it. Where's the goals? Where's the energy? Where's everything else? That you want from him, and that he's produced for so long. We just want him to. It's a tough one, because
it's a tough one for Gareth as well, isn't it?
It is,
because you've got a player there who's it's a record.
Well, he's a record
goal scorer for England. He's the captain. He doesn't look particularly sharp in the tournament. I mean, there's no question he's worked. He's running back and trying to defend, which you would say, no, save your energy, stay up. We don't need you. But I just wondered, because you get the overall picture about his movement.
If it was me, I'd be saying to him, just play with the width of the 18-yard box.
I know exactly what Bobby Robson would be saying to him.
Absolutely, it's sometimes, and I get that he wants to, when the team's under the cosh. Yeah. Trying to come back and help out, and he did that a few times. Honest. I mean, there was at one stage where he had to run back 50 or 60 yards and track back, and I admire him but other people can do that. I don't. And when we were under the cosh, then the ball was sort of going back up and coming straight back at us. Whereas if he was up there, he would be that presence that you need. So, but you know what it's like as a goal scorer.
Yeah,
one opportunity. And that might be the most important thing in the game. He's likely to stick it away. But there was also an opportunity where Saka in the first half got down the right wing and put a great ball. He got to the byline, put a great ball in. Probably rolled it across the 6-yard box. And I think, okay, and I look around, and Harry, I don't think he was even in the 18-yard box. And that's where he needs to do what to do and where to spend most of his time.
But can I just ask you, as strikers, what's it like playing against a 2? Obviously, Switzerland played with the 3. Does that make it harder for you? You talk about runs all the time, both of you. But if you've got 3 centre-halves who stay within the width of the box, does that make it more difficult to make them runs that you're talking about?
Well, you do become a little bit sacrificial. So what you have to do there is try and occupy as many of them you can, because don't forget, if you've got 3 players against 1, you are outnumbering them in other parts of the pitch, particularly with England's strength in midfield, with that box of 4 players, Mainu, Rice, Bellingham and Foden. So you've got to be patient as a striker. And I think Harry sometimes gets a bit frustrated, but I thought he generally stayed up a lot higher, particularly in the first half. And therefore, we suddenly saw interchanging in midfield and they started passing because they got a bit more space. But when he drops into that deep role, then you've got 5 players there. So whilst you're outnumbering in one area, you've got nothing in another area, because none of those players really run beyond Harry Kane, which is kind of the issue. So he's got to say hi. And you take one for the team in the sense that you're trying to occupy 3 defenders. Of course it's hard.
But is that fair that we're talking about Kane's performance, but you're basically saying he needs to sacrifice himself? So we're looking at his overall performance. We're not going to get that. Kane's best part of his game is dropping into the number 10 and linking up with the play.
There is the conundrum for Gareth.
Exactly.
Because we all know, even it's like positives and negatives, isn't it? You've got the positive that Harry, if he gets a chance, 19 times out of 20, he'll bang it away if it's a good chance. But on the other side, you're not getting anything behind a defence. So if he could sprint behind, pushes the back 3, that they have to run back, that creates more space in that midfield. But he's not that player. So you could make that argument that someone like Ollie Watkins, who you wouldn't say would be as assured a finisher, but he's improved a lot, and his statistics last season were superb. But what he will do is he'll run behind and therefore stretch them a little bit more and create a bit more space behind them for that midfield 4. But it's a dilemma.
I always remember Terry Venables saying to me, he said to me, if you're ever playing against 3 at the back, which often happened
in those days
at international football, he said, go and stand on the touchline. Go and just see what they do.
Yeah.
Go and see if one or 2...
He did the same with me a couple of times.
1 or 2 come and stand with you. Yeah. He said, because there's so much space over there for other people, just go and see what they do. See if they're brave enough to send 2 over with you or 1 over. Yeah. And if they send 1 over, you fancy your chances 1v1 against anyone, Yeah. But if they send another 2 over there has to be spaces somewhere else. So
it's funny you say that, Terry Venables. It's not England, but Zach's story about that. So whenever we played Nottingham Forest, and I've told this story, but the reason is, I'm not going to go into the story again about Des Walker. But Des Walker, Clough always put Des Walker on me man to man, which is quite unusual. Wherever I went, Des would follow. So Terry used to say to me, go and stand on Stuart Pearce, the left back, which nobody wants to stand near Stuart Pearce because he'd whack you. But so I used to go there, and then Des came out, and I was basically sacrificing myself to occupy the 2 best defenders that Nottingham Forest had. And it was clever, and then they never knew what to do. Played in the cup final, and Clough tried to change it and stuff. But it was, that's exactly, you've got to make the opposition think in terms of things like that.
Just ask different questions, haven't you?
So what would you do if you were Gareth? I think you go to Harry, come on, like, this is what your role is. You've got to stay high. You've got to try and stretch them a little bit.
There's no doubt about it. And there's no doubt in my mind, and I would do exactly the same. There's no way you can leave him out.
No, it'd take an incredibly brave manager to do that.
You can't leave your captain out and your goal scorer and the guy who can produce something special. I know we've got other players to do that as well, but he's our main goal scorer. Keep him in there. Try and encourage him as much as possible, because he has looked tired at times. But you put him in that team, no doubt about it, and you get the best out of him, or try to anyway, and you try and cajole him and do whatever you have to do and keep his spirits going, and because it'll turn. He's a great goal scorer.
He's got
2 goals. So
we have to talk about them penalties. I know we had a little talk about them last night, but I know you like the Trent one. Well,
I like them all. I like them all.
But the Tony one, he's not even looking at the ball.
We were walking around here to do this now, weren't we? We were talking about that.
It takes some balls to do that. Yeah. I mean, it was a great camera angle, wasn't it? Because the camera angle, and I'm looking down at him, which obviously I can't see. But then I'm looking at the screen that's next to me, and I can just see him staring at the keeper. And I'm thinking, I mean, this is an unbelievable technique, isn't it? It's like, I'm thinking, okay, hell. I mean, everything has to be perfect because just the 2 steps beforehand, and he's watching this. It's so brave, but it works incredibly well for him. So,
Swiss Tony.
the 5 penalties. Oh my God! They reminded me of the German penalties when in '96
and '90
and '90. Yeah,
Both.
It's like
They
all
both scored
5
off,
of them were absolutely bang on the money, weren't they? What about Cole Palmer? Cole Palmer hadn't even fucking played for England up until 2-3 months ago. Yeah. Now he's England's first penalty taker, and it looks as if he's like playing in the park with his pals. It's mad, isn't it?
It's mad.
I mean, the
courage.
The nuts on him to go, give me the ball, I'll have it, and walk up there. It just is. It's like his strut, isn't it? It just makes it. It just made me smile.
I know we've talked about how nervous, nerve-wracking taking penalties is, but it's a damn sight worse watching. I think.
Oh no, I kept
I was
saying that.
so nervous, particularly for 2 people.
Kept saying that, yeah.
Particularly for 2 people. Saka, because of what happened
Absolutely.
at the Euros. I mean, talk about stand up and be ballsy,
Yeah.
which reminded me of the Stuart Pearce moment in
Absolutely,
a game that
96,
you played
yeah.
when you scored the penalty against Spain, yeah?
Yeah, against Spain, yeah.
And it's kind of redemption thing. Not that he needed, he'd done that already by dragging us back into the game with a piece of brilliance, but I did choke up a little bit for him.
No, it was because I remember back in '96 when Stuart Pearce had the ball and was walking up to take the penalty against Spain, knowing what had gone on in '90. I mean, it's hard enough taking a penalty when you've scored your one before, let alone thinking, oh my God, I've got this situation again. So for him to even put himself forward to take one, which is no surprise because we know what character he is, and then to stick it in the side net in the way he did was just unbelievable. I mean, Gareth got it spot on. He got it absolutely right in terms of the timing of his substitutions and Trent and Ivan Toney to come on and take them in the way they did, and everything was perfect.
You could see they've worked at it hard as well.
Yeah.
They knew what the plan
did, yeah.
was. They knew what penalties they were going to take.
What about your line as well? Your line was a great line. You've used it before on here.
I have, yeah.
I've used it, but you used it in front of 20 million.
Right. It just felt right.
What was it? Go on for the viewers for the show.
Pressure is for tyres.
Oh, it was a great line. I was celebrating.
Do you know what it was? It was either that or it was I can feel a semi coming on.
You should have done that one.
I don't think the BBC would have been too happy with that one.
But you was talking about third legs the week before or the game before.
Well, that was funny, wasn't it? Because it just came out. But, I mean, it was Rio though, wasn't it? Because Ronaldo had 2 guys, 2 masseurs, one massaging one day. And he went, look, he's got 2 masseurs. I said, just as well he's not got 3.
By the way, we have to give Pickford a mention as well. What about his homework?
Yeah.
I mean, the homework that they do, him and the goalkeeping coaches and all that side of it. And
he saved one in every penalty
shoot
shootout he's faced with Southgate.
Did you see his the bottle where he had on these water bottle with a kanji?
We didn't get the shot of that. I didn't see it.
He had a water bottle and he had all the players listed, the opposition. Dive right, dive left, and Akanji, the first penalty on the bottle, dive left.
No.
But I tell you what, though,
Brilliant.
That's brilliant. But if there's another penalty shootout, one player is going to look on that bottle and go, sneak and get the bottle. He needs to. Right, if you're listening, and I know you're all shutting out the noise, if you're listening, do it differently. Do it on a different piece of. Do it on the post. Do a different kind of thing. And the other one, of course, was Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I think he's had it tough at this competition. It's been brutal for him, being put in there, and then people saying it's an experiment that didn't work, etc. But that was because England was so disjointed. I'm sure he could. I mean, he's such a wonderfully gifted footballer, isn't he? And that. What a moment to come there and step and do the winning penalty.
The winning penalty, and it was just stuck away with such a plum. I mean, I thought he was going to go that way.
So did I,
just
because of the angle of his run up.
His angle of his run up, and he's so good at whipping the ball. And in that, and that was my favourite side, and a penalty. That was my go-to side. The majority of time, I used to try and go there and thinking, if I get my spot right, the keeper's not saving it if he goes that way.
I spoke to Danny Murphy this morning. We had a coffee, and
he would scored all 5, would he?
He probably did in his head.
100%. But he made actually quite an interesting point. He says, I was worried about the Trent one because of the angle he was running. He said, because we've seen it in some times, and particularly perhaps the pitches here.
Yeah.
He said, if you're going at that angle, you're going to have to whip it that much. He said, your left foot could easily, you're planting it harder, so it could slip
away.
It obviously didn't, and he hit it perfectly.
It was a brilliant. Well, all 5 of them were, but for Trent to have that moment, to have the opportunity to stick a penalty away, knowing that you put this in, you're going through to the semi-final.
Oh, it's great, isn't
brilliant, and the way, it was just.
I mean, what a fit! I mean, we've not had too much success from penalty shootouts. I think that's the third win in a major tournament.
Yeah.
And it's so
great
special.
For Gareth
great for Gareth, great for his coaching staff, great for the squad, great for every English football fan. It's just brilliant.
Well, keep on rolling, don't we?
We're
still in there.
We've said it. It doesn't matter how you start the tournament; it's how you end it. And they now have put themselves in without playing spectacular free-flowing football. They've put themselves in an unbelievable position.
Did you have a few drinks after the game last night, Alan?
Had a few drinks
with Theo Walcott, weren't you?
Theo Walcott, what a lovely guy he was. He said we're having a laugh about you, actually.
Oh, really?
Do you know what he said to me?
Go on.
He said, I wish Micah had told me he was fucking blind. That's what he said. He said, when I played for him for England, I would have helped him out a bit more, tracking back.
Brilliant.
He said, is he really that blind? I said, he is really that blind.
Yeah, literally.
He said to me, can you remember when when I had my England debut, his England debut through in 2006, he said, can you remember when you rang me up? And I said, I can actually. He said, you just rang me up to say good luck. He said, it's ironic. I said, can you remember what you said to me? I said, no, what did I say? He said, good luck, but whatever you do, blank out the noise. I said, really, did I say that? He goes, yeah. I said, oh, incredible.
It was ever thus. Shall we blank out the noise?
Yes, we should.
Let's do it. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.